Lieutenant General, yourself and General Tema, both of your medical procedures were done by Dr. Pett.
Dr. Pett, yes.
Do you know, may her soul rest in peace, do you know Dr. Pett's husband?
Unfortunately, I don't. I didn't have a personal relationship with her to that far.
Dr. Pett's husband is an ANC regional secretary in Tshwane called George Machile. So now it's important that people at your level, especially with your training, appreciate the company they keep, because it comes back to bite you.
True.
And especially a female lieutenant general who has worked so hard to be where you are, gets to be destroyed by association with lunatics. Because if we're to look for a female general of the police, commissioner of the police, I think you stand a very good chance. But it is these nuances that are going to cause a serious problem. And people who know how you guys get trained, especially on intelligence and counterintelligence, there's no way. Because when I met Matlala for the first time, I couldn't miss him. I didn't know him. And I asked someone, who's this guy? And they explained to me, this is so and so. Later they said he wants to greet me. I said, no, I don't want. And that has been my stance throughout. You're a human being, you go around, you go to parties, you go to funerals, and you're going to meet all kinds of characters. But a person in a position must have the capacity to detect that there is something wrong with what is happening here, and be able to immediately withdraw. That's why most credible judges, it doesn't matter how painful it becomes for them, they are not part of a lot of social gatherings because they avoid coming into contact with wrong people. And those people are going to end up appearing before them. So I thought, because I'm not asking questions, I must say those few remarks to you as a black sister. Please, you can't work so hard and have a moment that destroys everything that you have built for yourself. And that's why even children will make an attempt to do suicide because they don't know their mother to be a criminal. And now when she gets to be projected as a criminal, it frustrates all of them. Like, my mother has been this honorable person, a woman of integrity, who enforces the law without fear or favor. The next thing stories are told about your mother, it's bound to affect them. So I'm just saying, this is not the end of the road. I think this is just the beginning of life. I mean, everything is a lesson. Going forward, you should be aware, especially as an intelligence-trained person, you should be aware always about your surrounding. Thank you very much, Chair. Over to you, Honorable Mates. I'm in charge now, whether Kusala likes it or not.
Let there be love. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, President.
Honorable Mates, wait. Because I'm the one who presides over here. Honorable Malema.
We do have a habit of expropriating without compensation. Sorry, Chair.
Honorable Malema presides over the EFF meetings. So now let me tell you what time is it and recognize you to speak. It's now 28 minutes to 5. Your time starts now.
Okay, I want to talk about this, and Honorable Malema touched on it. The thing about being at that party. I'm not even a trained intelligence agent or whatever, but that whole setup, as you described it, you have the wife of someone come and sit next to you there with your friend. You don't think that your friend, who is it? Was actually trying to introduce you. I mean, it actually looks like Lieutenant General Sabia, he had these parties to link up members of SAPS with criminals. or maybe they weren't all criminals, but with business people or people that need favors from SAPS. And that is what those parties were all about, because it was not about, from what I understand, networking and, SAPS members finding each other and building teamwork. So when did Lieutenant General Khumalo stop attending the parties, or was he stopped being invited to the parties?
As I said, General Severe would change. At like the initial General Khumalo was the one invited, ne? And then later it was myself and others who were being invited. But I want to clarify.
No, but what I'm asking is that
Yeah.
you sure it was an invite related, or it wasn't that Lieutenant General Khumalo just stopped coming and
They
was still
actually-
invited?
They were not talking. on
Okay, and
talking
when
terms.
did this happen?
I'm not certain.
More or less?
I would say around last year.
Okay.
Yeah, last year, because then I would
Okay,
be back.
before the press conference of
No,
that's
no,
broadcast
actually,
here?
no, year before last,
Okay.
2024, not
Okay.
2025. Yes,
Mm.
yes.
So yeah, I want to, so these parties, and then have you engaged Major General Temba about the role? Because perhaps she's also involved in this whole thing of networking and setting up. It makes no sense. And I am not even on your level, and I would have known
Yeah.
straight away that this is very dodgy. And then the next minute she's saying, oh yeah, his number, call him, ask him for fridges. And then how, okay, respond to that. And then the next question, if you can also respond to, yeah. Well, how much was those fridges that were donated that
The bar fridges.
Lieutenant General Sabia even got?
I think it was 3,999. I think Nkosazana, but I think-
4,000 rand.
Yeah, it was small bar fridges. I think
But-
I didn't even see any of them, But also, if I may proceed, and I know how it's projected. For me, this becomes one of the saddest moments, because when we went there was no preoccupation about who's going to be there. We didn't know. And as I said that, there were times where actually I wouldn't go to these parties, There were times where, for example, I would say, no, man, But then I think on that day, because he's like, General, come, we're having something in the house, and we go. And I said to General Tema, there was no discussion. General Sibia himself said at some point to me that actually you are a very good woman. I don't project two faces. Yes, I'm an operative, Honorable Malema.
You are.
But what you see, is what you get. When I'm angry, you see it. And when I don't want something, I then say it. But then there are times where I feel I can't go on. You know what? Let's just go with the flow. And I think probably for me, that was the mistake of that day. Because when something says to you, don't go to a place, and you go, this would not have happened. However, those were not hookup parties. We go to General Sibia's.
They're not hookups as in sex hookups.
No.
I'm saying as in,
I am not even.
no, not those.
Yeah.
Not those ones.
I think
Just like
your thoughts took
business
took you too
people
far.
to do favors.
Yes.
Yeah.
I must say your thoughts took you too far. When I was saying, I was
No,
thinking
it's
about.
Honorable Sangoni that was looking at me in
Yeah.
her mind somewhere.
But actually, there's nothing more I can say to convince anybody otherwise that this was just an innocent going to a party. And again, there was no intent in terms of asking for that sponsorship. For that reason, I didn't even see one of the activities. I didn't get any one of them.
Here on the
Thank you.
bridges.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I understand. I understand your concern.
Honorable
Thank you so much, Honorable.
Thank you, Chair. Well, my president pretty much covered me, but I just wanted Lieutenant General, just as another woman, to say when I read through your CV, okay, I'm getting teary now. I must not pull a Sarah Jane trend. But I read through your CV, I was like, wow, we actually have women of this level in our country, and we're always told that there are not enough African women like that. There are also not enough of our young girls that know the spaces that they can be in. So I also just want to give you an opportunity to tell her, you're also getting teary, are we going to have a moment?
But I won't pull a.
There's nothing, tears is not a bad thing, you don't worry. I say that in EFF all the time. I'm a crybaby in EFF, so Yeah. Mm. What made you get into the space? Because you started off and you served a good 10 years at the, what was then
State
called
security,
the
yeah.
state NIA, and now it's the SSA. So what led you there? Was it accidental or it was deliberate?
State security was deliberate.
Mhm.
I think it's based on my history, I think, at the university, and I think most of my colleagues who were together there were already there. So it was a conscious decision that this is where I want to join.
And then why did you move to SAPS?
Growing through the ranks, I remember in 2008 when I actually came back from, no, 7, when I came back from Northern Cape, I started working internally within counterintelligence, and I went to NICOC. Then there was a request that actually there is an opening in SAPS for a director for counterterrorism. And I want to declare here that Honorable Malema, whatever I do in my life, regardless of what is being said, money has never been a motivator. I think I fought hard to work as a woman. By the way, if I can say on national TV, I'm divorced twice, so I'm not a person who craves attention. I think I can hold it, can hold the knife,
Amen.
you know. Yeah, I'm not available though, but I'm just saying that I'm divorced twice. So meaning that money for me was never a motivator, because when I moved from state security to SAPS, I was already very senior,
Oh.
and I took a salary cut to join the police.
Oh.
And for a reason that most of the guys who were sitting in my interview thought that I was way too experienced, and also they wouldn't be able to match my salary. So when they gave me an offer, I think as a way to show that, you know what, I'll prove that I'm not here for money, I then took the offer.
So what did you think that you were going to achieve more at SAPS than you would at State Security Agency? I would think the State Security Agency is a little bit more elite.
And I think otherwise,
Oh, okay.
because I've been there.
Yeah, you would know better.
Yes. In state security, we're talking assessments, we're talking probably estimates. I've seen in the Northern Cape our products contributing to crime fighting, like for example, on organized crime. I think at some time we had an issue of right-wing extremism in the Calvinia, Bosman area, where you definitely saw your efforts. But at national, because you are overarching, you don't see where those products are leading, particularly in tackling organized crime. So me moving to SAPS was about expanding what I've learned and to be able to use it to guide investigators to be able to catch those that we have identified as our targets.
Okay, this is just quickly.
And maybe to add, I feel as if for SAPS, your currency is based on arrests. So you can see what you're doing. And that excited me.
Just quickly, we had a character, which I'm sure you know, was Brown Mokotsi, that was here. And he said he was an agent. Is that how you trained agents?
First off,
just give us a little bit, now that we actually have a professional. Like how would someone that was not an agent, what are they called? Operative, no.
He
Well,
called
said
himself an agent.
Yes, he did, okay.
First off, just to clarify, we still state security because we are civilian. We don't call our informers informants. We call them agents.
Oh, okay.
That's why you would hear the concept, your principal agent network.
Oh, okay.
That person who handles other people to be able to get information. But in intelligence, you
Just
actually have informants. So the agents are actually our own members who then go undercover.
No, explain that again. So in SAPS, under the crime intelligence.
Yes, an agent is a SAPS member who is exfiltrated out of the system, erased from the system, and actually we could call him either as your infiltration agent or maybe penetration would have been from inside. But he will work with the syndicate, you know. But there's legislation around it, and please don't make me go further.
No, we do want to know because we also have to make a decision about this at some point. So you are here. So I'm sure you heard some of his testimony both in the commission and here. So tell us if that would be some sort of training or what you would
If,
have.
for example, he is from outside the organization, then he would become an informer.
Okay.
So we have got an informer network. As I said, a former member who is exfiltrated then becomes an agent.
Okay.
And you never get to know them. They're not on our systems. We don't even see them or know them.
And would they go around saying they are an
No,
informer?
because that actually would be blowing their cover and compromising their operation.
Clarity, thank you. We just want to go quickly. Let's start off with the disbandment of PKTT. So Lieutenant General Kunazi said that that was actually a mistake in identity because there were PKTT members that moved to Gauteng to assist. What's your take? Was it PKTT, members of the PKTT that arrested Makala?
The advantage I have in responding to your question is that I didn't have the information they had. I only had an instruction and a plan, So I had when he said that. So probably I'm sure he wouldn't just say it. It was based on knowledge that they had as to why there was that mistaken identity.
But you were in charge that time of these dockets and the arrests and overseeing Gauteng, and it happened in Gauteng. So when that whole arrest happened, you didn't know absolutely anything about it.
I thought you were asking me about the dockets and the fact that maybe in following the dockets, it was a matter of thinking that the PKTT was the team that made the arrests in Gauteng.
Oh, okay, no.
Yeah.
No, the question here is that he's characterized that whole, has characterized this disbandment of PKTT, right? As it was a mistake in identity, and then this is how this whole thing has just been blown out of proportion. Yeah.
So these sergeants who were working on the Amanswart matter, when the issue of compromise or security breach came, they approached General Mboso Khumalo, who approached me. I approached General Khumalo to say, take over this team. So maybe the people then thought it came from KwaZulu-Natal. Actually started here in Gauteng. Yes.
Are there cartels in South Africa?
Cartel, I think, is a big word.
What word would you use?
See, if you look at the history of your organized crime, so your mafia would be linked to families, ne? And your cartels, it's now when all the big bosses of the families of the mafia come together for a purpose, then it's called a cartel. I have not evidenced that in the investigation. Maybe there is, maybe we are missing it. But in your typical organized crime countries like your Mexico, your Colombia, your Brazil, those exist.
Are we getting there? Are we heading in that direction?
If we let things spiral out of control by not addressing organized crime, I think we can easily spiral into that direction.
And then the big five, what do you know about it? I mean, I'm sure it's either under investigation, but is there some sort of reality, and is there some prima facie evidence to...
When you conduct your organized crime investigation, you are bound by the trade to do your link analysis. And I think when the team did their link analysis and identified people who actually are part of that particular syndicate, I would say that it was not done lightly. It was done based on either documentary evidence or evidence from your digital space that actually links the individuals.
Were you part of that process?
I wasn't.
You would be part of a process like that.
Yes.
Because you're pretty senior and
Yeah.
got organized car crime background. It's quite,
Respectfully to the committee members through you, Chair, we would not know anything and everything as generals in the police, and I'll tell you why. I gave an example where 2 weeks ago we were sitting in a meeting and then there was a compromise of that particular meeting. And that's why you cannot know all the dockets, because it could be a friend of mine. I mean, we are human beings, not that actually we would give out the information. For that matter, I actually led my own nephew to the police station to get arrested when he attempted to rape my niece. You know, so law for me is law, and law doesn't look at families or who works for what. So what I'm saying is that you are not bound to know everything. Even the National Commissioner wouldn't know everything about the cartels, about the
But
individuals.
cartels, Lieutenant General, is a big thing in organized crime.
Yeah.
So we're not asking about one of so many cases
Yeah.
of rape. So a cartel or a mafia, so to speak.
An example I can give is with the gangs in the Western Cape. So we would know, for example, the type of gangs. I mean, in Westbury, for example, Advocate is here. Sorry, Honorable James is here. Those, because they are within organized crime. But in probably, let's say, in our briefing with the members, if some would slip into our hands, it doesn't mean that we were ignorant. Probably it could have been that at that time we didn't know.
Okay, let's go to General Jacobs. Why did you call him and not send him a formal or whatever the formal process was for him to release the files?
And if maybe let's look at my responsibility and his responsibility as he would have been with ESCOM. If Advocate Johnson writes down and says, this is a docket for IDEC, and this docket is based on Section 28, and General Jacobs has those dockets. Understanding the system, I know that IDEC does not have a system where a docket is registered, is moved to IDEC. So they will have to ask the dockets from SAPS. So mine was to say, General Jacobs, she's to say that you keeping those dockets. I think one of the things she wrote was that the complainant was.
But initially, from what you said, and you'll clarify,
Yeah.
is that she called you and
Yes.
asked you for intervention.
Yes.
Then you called, and
Yes.
then you asked her to send an email.
No, actually, I asked her to send an email first before I called.
You called Jacobs, did not send him or even forward him the email.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you spoke to Jacobs, Lieutenant General, it's a